Smith picked up 9 on the play, so it's taking down really the nose of a football.
Keller's got it.
He's looking to throw long, has a receiver. It's complete. Touchdown, Patriots. William Riley and Ryan Keller hook up on a 39-yard strike.
And we haven't even played 8 minutes of ball here, and already we're at 20 zip. One of the things in the pre-game hype, it talked about they were concerned this being the worst whitewash since back in, what year was that, when East St. Louis.
1991.
Yeah, East St. Louis won 61 zip over Danville. That was unbelievable, and already we're at the 20-point mark.
And Junia will again try the point after. Ebert will spot the ball, and the kick is up and good. So 21-0, Stevenson on top and on pace for what was predicted by one Chicago sports writer as possibly an 80-point game.
Well, we've got 21, and we're not even at the just past the halfway point in the first quarter. So let's give them credit for another touchdown potentially. It's 28 a quarter. We could maybe see the 90 or 100-point level. And I got to believe Coach Bill Mitz is looking not necessarily to run up the score, but he wants his team to keep pounding. They don't want any let up because they will be satisfied nothing less than the state championship.
Talk about that offense again, scoring close to 50 points a game. Just missed the state record, which was 52 points a game. They had a shot at that one as well during the regular season, but just missed it. Couldn't come up with it. Yeah, they're going to get ready to kick it off one more time.
You know, and these kind of teams with the stats that we see here, they've spread the ball around so much, but these are the kind of teens and the kind of kids that you read about in the you know, people on the move in Sports Illustrated who a kid scores, you know, 50 touchdowns in his high school career. You're playing on a team like this.
And Starks takes it at his own 10. Gets out close to the 23-yard line before he's stopped. And the Dolphin offense will once again come out onto the field.
Number 12, James Ebert, down there to make the stop on that play. You look at field position, you know, we talk about how good the defense is, but look at the special teams right now. You know, they've pinned them down. This time they're starting on about the 24, 25-yard line, same place they started from last time almost.
Stevenson, the fourth team in state history, fourth rated team state history-wise in scoring average. Lexington back in 1973 averaged 52 points a game, followed by Morris and Staunton. And then Stevenson, this year's addition up there. And they keep it on the ground, picking up short yardage on the play.
Number 58, Brian Hansen, in on the tackle, came from his defensive line position and just got that play before it went anywhere. No gain. Oh, they're actually going to spot it back a little bit.
Gray actually losing about the length of a football on it. So it'll bring up second down and 11. And we have brought the record book with us tonight.
I think we're going to need it. And extra pens and extra paper to keep all the stats.
Second down and 11 now. Out of the shotgun. Starks in trouble. Avoided a couple of tacklers, but not the final one. Coming up to get the sack was Justin Ward. Let's check that. Rayshay Hill making the tackle.
They're giving an assist on each one. Rayshay Hill was the first guy to get him, and as you said, number 73, Justin Ward, put the finishing touches on him. Brings up third and about 15.
And Whitney Young just proceeding backwards during this game. Enters Starks, gets a block, floats it to the outside, and the pass is incomplete. Had a receiver open in the flat, but they couldn't hook up. Out there was Ismail Sahundin.
Took his eye off the ball. He saw it coming in. He probably had a chance to pick up another 5, maybe even close to the first down. He certainly had some turf to run in, but a little mental lapse there, and he forgot to take the ball with him. And there you see it with 2:09 to go. the Patriots are going to have their hands on the ball one more time.
And it's a good punt. And Junior takes it at his 46-yard line. And he's wrestled out of bounds at the 42. Fine special play team down there for the Dolphins to knock that play out of bounds. Stepping up to make the hit was Derek Cameron. And there you see the time left here in the first quarter as the clock begins to run once again. 1:55 left. It's 21-0. Stevenson on top.
Stevenson so far flawless. They haven't misfired on anything.
And they pound the ball out close to the 35-yard line. Shane Newcomb picked up about 7 on the play. And they just keep coming at you and coming at you. You know, I talked about the fact that they shut out their final 3 opponents. And, you know, that's a tough feat in itself. When you consider that you had a couple of conference games mixed in there.
Yeah.
That's a pretty nice effort, especially against the caliber of team they play. And Smith gets the call, and a flag comes down, which will stop play as he's wrapped up by several Dolphins. Talk about those shutouts. 39-0 over Lake Forest, 31-0 over Libertyville, 42-0 over Zion.
And you look at those first 2 that you talked about, Lake Forest, a playoff team, Libertyville, a playoff team. I mean, so these guys went out and really did the number on their equals.
And a holding penalty called against the Patriots. Their first miscue of the evening. You take a look. Stevenson's biggest allowance of points this year came back in the first game against Downers Grove South, a rematch of last year's final playoff game for the Patriots when they were bumped back in 1994. Downers Grove South losing that one 35-21. They finished the season 8-1. That was their only blemish. Antioch can say something that Lake Forest, Libertyville, and Zion can't, though. They scored points. They put 20 up on the board, as we said before.
On any given day.
Downers Grove giving the Patriots their biggest test of the year. Here's Keller back to throw. Dumps it to the outside. Junior has it, and he's taken down at the Dolphin 39-yard line.
As you see the clock wind down there on our camera in the first quarter, let's look at the way that play didn't develop because Junior had blockers in front of him, but the slippery field kept his blockers from being able to gain their footing to throw a block. Junior couldn't cut behind him. The hole was there, but he just couldn't go anywhere.
Coming up on 20 seconds left to go in the first quarter. Again, the stacked backfield behind Keller. They go the left side. And Clancy breaks through, has a first down, and is stopped at the 26-yard line. Pickup of 13 by Steve Clancy.
For a minute, I thought my prediction was going to come true. We were going to see Clancy break through and pull one in with 10 seconds to go in the clock running. That's got to be probably the last play of the first quarter.
And the Patriots hustling up to the line of scrimmage, but that's going to do it for the first quarter of play. Through 12 minutes, the Patriots have scored every time they've put their hands on the football. They lead it 21-0.
Now, kid, be cool. You just give this stuff to your best buddies. Tell your friends it's a great high. Tell them it can't hurt them.
I can do that.
Just give it away. And you see who comes back for more.
And then I start charging.
You're a smart kid. You have a good day at school, Billy boy.
Back at Stevenson High School, I'm Chip Egan along with Jerry Ming. First round of the Class 6A state playoffs. And the Patriots find themselves out on top, 21-0. Mud-drenched field thanks to the rains that had poured prior to the start of the ball game. In fact, it was raining so hard the band couldn't come out and play the national anthem. That was done over the tape recorder and loudspeaker. And now we're going to experience a part of the field that hadn't really been touched throughout this ball game so far. That is to our far right, the 30-yard line, really the biggest mess. Keller rolls out to the right, has time, fires it across to Junior. He's got it, slips, gets his footing back, and is tackled at the 3-yard line. But officially, they're going to mark his foot down at the 7. So a pickup of 19.
Did you notice how Keller just rolled out there, totally uncontested, kept his cool? Remember, we're talking about a wet field here tonight. That ball's probably got a little slick on it, too. But Keller just took his time and threw a good strike.
So here come the Patriots knocking on the door once again. On the ground they go. Brandt fights his way through, and he stopped just short of the goal line.
Brandt a little frustrated. He felt all he needed was one more search to get in the end zone. He was met by the secondary, Whitney Young, coming up and just stopping him at the last instant.
There you see Keller talking to the offense. Again, behind perhaps one of the best offensive lines in state history. You can almost chalk this one up. Into the end zone, touchdown Stevenson. Kyle Brandt bolts over the right side for 1 yard and scores.
Brandt probably a little frustrated because only having 1 yard to go to get into the end zone, that kind of hurts his yards per carry average, but I'm sure he'll take the 6 rather than the carry.
And Junia to tack on the point after. Ebert will do the holding. And he'll try to up it to 28-0. And his kick is up, and it sails through the uprights. So with 11:07 left to go in the first half, it's Stevenson 28 and Whitney Young nothing.
Unbelievable. I'm trying to think of, well, what can we find that the Patriots have done wrong so far? Should we maybe start to pick on the band?
The holding penalty.
Yeah, that's true. The holding penalty and the band unable to come out due to weather conditions. Right now, that's the low lights for the night for them. They're doing everything. You see fans bundled up. It's cold. It's wet. It's rainy. But, boy, what a display. What a display.
They have just come out and hit on all cylinders right from the get-go. Got to look down at the sideline before. Stevenson with plenty of guys suited up. This is not a team hurting for players, hurting for reserves, practice squad members. They have a load of guys that wanted to get on this bandwagon. And they all contribute in one way or the other.
When you start winning by margins like they have, obviously you can go real deep in terms of your roster. And I look at their total offense for the Patriots per game, over 410 yards per game offensive average. They're the #1 offensive team in the area, maybe even the state.
And Junia gets off a good kick. And it's taken at the 6-yard line by Starks. Runs to his right. And he stopped at the 15-yard line.
Wow.
He ran right into a wall, and that wall's name was Jeffrey Skibitsky.
And you look at the defensive side of the ball for the Patriots. We're going to get a chance. We got a player down on the field right now. We're going to have a moment to just buy some time here. But go back to 410 yards they're averaging offensively. They're only giving up 193 defensively. Just an astronomical difference.
Milt Luter down on the field. He's the injured player being attended to.
You look at the job that their special teams has done so far in 3 kickoffs right now. They have been able to start, let Whitney Young start on the 26, the 24, and now inside the 20, starting here on the 15. Tremendous field position.
No, we've harped about the offense as Luter gets up and is coming off the field under his own power. The offense, as we said, has been scoring at close to 50 points a game, but the defense has really been stellar for this ball club, and I don't think has gotten enough credit, as much credit as they should. Talked about them shutting out their final 3 opponents. Well, this team is allowed less than 10 points a game. Most of those points coming early in the season, again, in that game against Downers Grove South. So
in Antioch.
Oh, they have put the screws down and have played some defense this year. Here's Starks back to throw, rolling out to his right. This time he keeps it, and he's going to pick up about 4 yards as he's hog-tied and taken down by Justin Ward at the 19-yard line.
Justin Ward No slouch himself at 5'9", 224 pounds. He plays in the defensive line there, and just good pursuit on a slippery field. He did not let the quarterback get away.
Speaking of defense, one more time, you know, unofficially, I've got Whitney Young down for -6 yards so far. That may be something to check out. Not only would the Patriots love to throw a shutout, but I think they'd like to make some noise beyond it. But they're picked up some yards here. Gray popping out to the 32-yard line. That's a 13-yard pickup. James Ebert in the secondary had to make the tackle.
Quick opener. I believe the Patriots were in a stunt right there. I saw him start to move sideways. Fortunately for the Dolphins, they had the right play called at the right time, and where the Patriots were stunning away from, boom, is where they happened to run into. Lady Luck jumped up and helped them that time.
Mentioned Maurice Gray as the team's leading rusher. He, along with Starks, have been the only two to handle the ball so far this evening. And Starks now rolling out to his left, looks downfield, and he overshoots his receiver, and it's intercepted. Picked off by Tariq Sajundeen. That's his second of the evening.
And as he released that ball, number 87, Rashay Hill, really lowered the boom on the quarterback for Whitney Young, and he never saw the end result of that play. He'll have to read about it in the sports pages tomorrow.
Starks has completed 3 passes tonight. Unfortunately, 2 are to Sajundeen, and the other was a -5 loss earlier. So Keller steps behind center. A quick hitter over the middle goes incomplete. Well covered on the play. Rashay Hill was the intended receiver. And for Keller, that's his first incomplete of the night. He was 2 of 2 going into that.
Hey, if he keeps that up, we're going to bench him, you know, at this rate.
Check that. Actually, he was 3 of 3 because Riley had caught the 39-yarder before, too.
Just a quick slant in. Hill came in from the left tight end position, and it was just a pass thrown behind him. What a target to throw to. Hill, 6'5", 240. He's just a monster of a man.
And here's Keller. Looking long, has a receiver. It's complete. Once again, Riley has it. And he stopped at the 3-yard line.
Unreal. Unreal.
56-yard pickup.
Notice the way Keller ran that. He faked inside, a little cross-buck action to freeze the linebackers, and he rolled down. Remember, he's a right-handed quarterback, rolled to his left, still had the strength. He never really had to stop. He threw that on the run, just lofted a nice, soft, catchable ball, and he let Riley run underneath it.
Talked about Keller throwing the ball. 4 of 5 for 120 yards. On the ground, touchdown. Mr. Clancy popping in this time over the left side.
Wow. What a treat it is to stand here and watch an offensive as well as a total team display that we're seeing right now. Clancy just kind of danced, waltzed, pranced, pranced, I should say. He just tiptoed into the end zone. Nobody touched. Pranced, that's a combination of tiptoed and pranced.
I was going to say, I hope that English teacher's not listening.
I
Remember
think
back to that Vider game.
She's out to a fish fry tonight, I hope.
And they may be having Dolphin because that's what's being served up here. That point after attempt is blocked. So that could be something else that they may hear about at halftime, because I can't find anything else bad to say about this ball club. Nevin Harris getting credit for the block point after.
But you see that score flash up there, 34-zip with 9 minutes to go in the first half. Wow.
Wow, he's right.
Although,
you really shouldn't say that, because this is the first time we've seen him, but I don't think this should come as a shock to anybody right now.
For a minute, I thought I was watching the Northwestern Wisconsin game here.
Hey, I watched it before I went to my wedding last week. By the way, that's where I was. For all of you that I know were probably missing me last week, I'm sure all the phone calls and cards.
The switchboards were lit up.
Switchboards are just lighting up with people wondering where I was. Well, I was at a wedding.
But remember, you just grammatically, you said I was at my wedding. It was not your wedding,
I
Chip.
said I was at a wedding.
Okay.
I was at a wedding. No, I'm a few centuries shy of getting married.
We want that Lonely Hearts Club out there in our viewing audience to know that they still have a chance for you.
You're still in the running. You can be a winner in the chip lottery. And the ball falls off the tee. But while I have this chance, even though they don't live in the area, I'd still like to congratulate my friend Henry McGill, who I grew up with, who was the groom, and Kristen Keene, the lovely bride. Congratulations to them. Live long and prosper. That's it, the Vulcan sign. Spock was on the radio a couple days ago. That's why I bring it up. Junior boots this one. It goes into the end zone. It'll be a touchback. So I think the man was a little bit unhappy with the fact that he got his point after attempt blocked, and he took his frustrations out on the kickoff. And that one sails into the end zone off the shoulder pads of Gray.
Wow, and that was not aided by a wind. There's a wind out here, but it's coming across the field, which, if anything, is why you saw that head towards the right corner. But that was all leg that put it that far.
Again, the winner of tonight's ball game takes on the winner of the York-Elgin-Larkin game, as you see the flag flying in the background. Again, half-staffed. Tribute to the students killed in the bus crash a couple of days ago. And Starks keeps it, and he's hit big time at the 24-yard line. Skibitsky lowered the boom.
What Skibitsky didn't do, number 44, Adam Butler, did. He put the finishing touches on and kind of dotted the I and crossed the T to that. You've got to wonder, just, you know, we talk about the defense and how well they have played, but have they really been tested this year other than those first couple contests because their offense has been on the field so much?
Well, I'd say when you look at the teams they had, though, Libertyville, we didn't think was too shabby of a team. Shut them down.
Lake
Forest, not bad. Lake Forest this week having to take on Marshall. Here's a pitch to the outside. Gray comes back the other way and gets drilled at the 27-yard line. Making the tackle was Brian Novosel. Brian Vicious, excuse me. Very vicious, making the hit. 3-yard pickup on the play. So Gray now with 15 yards on 4 carries, 15 very hard-earned yards. Doing a little bit of Barry Sanders on that run, having to stop and come back the other way.
Well, Clancy, from his corner position there, fought off the block and actually single-handedly forced that play to go back the other direction.
3rd down and 3 now for the Dolphins. Here's the give. Gray comes up, and he's going to be met and short of the 1st down.
Wow.
That's how you play some defense. Adam Butler stepping in, makes the hit. And you talk about not being tested. Well, I think the other teams were. These guys weren't. The other team's offenses were put to the test. As you see, Junior stepping back. He's going to fall back to his own 41-yard line. Derek Cameron will kick it away, standing at his own 15. And it's a high, short punt. Flag goes flying as the ball takes a young bounce to the 47. But we'll have to check on the penalty.
Gotta believe we may have a holding penalty going against the Patriots. They were trying to impede the progress of the bullet man for Whitney Young, and I think they impeded it just a little bit more than they wanted to. And there you see the signal. Second holding call against the Patriots tonight.
Only 2 flags, though, so far. And I guess when you execute as well and as crisp as the Patriots have, I mean, this is kind of an off night then for the officials so far. But I would imagine perhaps as we see some of the reserves that we may see some of the flags. But right now, I mean, you can't find fault with what these guys have done. I mean, this is as pure an execution of an offense as you're going to see.
Well, and it's been a good display by, you know, all facets of the team, and with 2 penalties, and they could be marginal. Those are really judgmental calls by the official. If that's the worst that happens to them, then they're functioning. But notice here, we were 4th and about 2 with that penalty. That's going to make it 1st and 10 for the Dolphins, and they're going to have their first down of the night.
And the Dolphins will take over at their own 38-yard line. 6:28 left to go here in the first half of play. It's 34-0 Stevenson. Two wide receivers come out, split to the left side. Split backfield behind Starks. Here's Gray. And he slides forward to the 41-yard line, so he picked up 3 on that play.
45 Skibitsky in on the tackle again, just laying him down after a gain of, like you said, only about 3 yards. Interesting defensive formation by the Patriots here. They're going out and they're playing their receivers man-to-man.
Well, the defensive pressure they're putting up front.
Yeah.
And their ability with their linebackers to plug the gaps, shut down the run. They defend the pass beautifully. They can afford to do it. Here's Gray. And he got maybe a yard on the play as he was submerged in a sea of green. Leading the charge over there, Adam Butler.
Butler coming from his left linebacker position. We're going to talk about the mobility. You talk about the pressure put on by the front 4, but when you have 3 linebackers like that behind you who are as mobile, and when they do get there, really lower the boom, that really makes your defensive game effective.
It may be cold, but you can relax. That's a contrast. And a couple of people just kind of cold, stand over there, and somebody just taking it easy.
Trying to decide whose next turn it is for the hot chocolate run.
3rd down and 6, a pitch to the outside. Well read by the defense, and this play is going to lose about 6 yards. Steve Clancy comes up and makes the hit, and it'll bring up 4th down.
Second big defensive play that we've just talked about by Clancy. Go back a few plays ago, when he single-handedly turned that sweep away and made it go the other direction and run cross gain, because he did his job and he came up and just met it as you saw it there.
And Jania going back there, you see him. He's had a busy night tonight.
Notice, though, that they only put 1 back. They're really intent on rushing the punter as well as going after the bullet men.
And Junior will have a chance to return it at his own 40. Finds a hole, but then is stopped at the 48-yard line. So an 8-yard return by Matt Junior.
Junior Sr. has done an outstanding job for him back there, as well as on the defensive end. He was tied in with 3 interceptions during the season, put him 4th in the area.
Yeah, 3 for the season, and then we see Sarudin. He's got 2 tonight. And look at this piece of running by Shea Newcomb. Runs into some Dolphins, keeps the legs moving, and picks up about 8 yards.
Just a whole wall of green was coming after the Dolphins. They just literally controlled the whole line of scrimmage and just moved it back. And as you said, once Newcomb got there, he took another 3 yards on his own.
2nd down, 2 yards to go for the first. Here they go to the right side this time. It's Kyle Brandt. Plenty of room as he gets inside the Dolphin 30 to the 29-yard line. There's a 15-yard pickup by Kyle Brandt.
Good job. He went right. There was a little bit of a hole off right tackle, but he saw there was a heck of a lot more if he cut back against the grain, and as you said, he picked up 15.
Stevenson Patriots, the number 2 ranked team in the state. Looking like they should be the top. Flag goes flying as Clancy picked up about 6. But this one may end up coming back.
There you see the official giving our holding signal.
As I had mentioned, the Patriots, the number 2 team in state, Naperville Central, had been number 1 from the outset. They've got a heck of a running back by a guy named Tamility, who has had problems with his ACLU, the anterior cruciate ligament, in his leg, and has played since I believe it was actually the first week of the season, I think, with it. He has had some damage in it. Doctors told him, if you can endure the pain, you can play. And this guy said, hey, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. We can take the state. I'm going to go with it. Here's Keller back to throw, fires it to the outside. It's complete. Junia has it and is taken out of bounds at the 27-yard line.
Gain of 10 on that completion by Keller. Saw him roll out to his right and just went for, I believe, Junia was his second choice. He was looking downfield and he was pumping the arm like he wanted something and finally said, I've got to dump it here, and for a 10-yard gain, that's not a bad dump.
Second down now and 8 coming up. 2:20 left to go. On the ground, Shea Newcomb gets forward for a few before he's wrapped up.
Different offensive set there by the Patriots. They went with trips right. Newcomb was the lone back behind Keller. Got to believe that they're setting it up to see just how the Dolphins were going to react, because they had two men out in the slot to the left and a receiver split far to the left.
So 3rd down and 3 coming up. And on the ground to the right side. And they're going to be very close to it. In fact, they should have it. Kyle Brandt. And he's going to have it. 5-yard pickup for him.
From the defensive perspective, every time you look across the line, the Patriots are giving you a different offensive set. There they came with a full house. 3 running backs straight across there. And then they fake one, fake the other, and finally gave it to the 3rd man. It's really deceptive.
To the left side this time. And the ball pops loose. And it's recovered by the Dolphins. Steve Clancy had it and then took a helmet on the football, and it popped forward. And the Dolphins recover. So they close the door on another Patriot drive, the first tonight that has come up unsuccessful in the end zone.
And as our clock shows 1:20 left in the half and counting down, got to believe that where we were on the field at the 10-yard line, it was only a matter of seconds before the Patriots would have been in the end zone again.
So now let's see what that does to the defense, if it turns them up a notch. And I would imagine with the Dolphins pinned this deep in their own territory, they would like to get a turnover if they can. The clock is continuing to move. We have 55 seconds left to go in the first half. And the Patriots would like nothing better than to get the ball back right down here. And Starks rolls out, throws it to his right, and it's complete. Nine-yard pickup, however.
The only way that ball could have been caught was been thrown low and down and away, and that's exactly where he put it.
Salahuddin getting the reception. And they come up again just a yard short of the first down marker with 10 seconds left to go. And here's Gray, met right at the line of scrimmage, maybe got the first down, and the clock is stopped with 3 seconds left, and he did pick it up. They are going to give him the first down.
With 3 seconds to go, this position on the field, knowing you're going to start the clock right away, that'll be it for the half.
And that does it. We've played one half of play here at Stevenson High School, and the host Patriots disappointing no one as they have come out like a house of fire and are on top 34-0. This game is brought to you by our sponsor, Pepsi Cola, and your local Pepsi Cola bottlers of Lake County.
Sir Dude, if I may call you such, sir. Dude, sir. I'm here to ask for your daughter Julie's hand in marriage. Yeah, man. We want to surf. Or maybe start a band. Check it out. My pop loves to party. And my mom, she's a big old earth muffin, yeah? So as far as cash flow goes, man, we don't have any. So I figure, move in here and glom off of you for a while, man. What do you say, sir? Cool. Is that, like, priceless, dude?
This building behind me is JFK Healthworld, a state-of-the-art health education facility here in Barrington. It's very Disney-like in that it's interactive and allows you to participate in learning about health, the environment, and safety. This $12 million structure is devoted to giving students a hands-on approach to learning about themselves and the world they live in. In an effort to make the learning process fun, developers thought of combining education with entertainment and got some ideas from a small little company whose spokesman is a mouse.
We said we wanted to fuse entertainment with education, and so when you think of that, you think of Disney, and we said we wanted to bring a little bit of Disney to the education arena.
Now, did you do some background work on that? I mean, did you study what they have done to learn interactive and how that would apply into this sense?
Once again, absolutely. The first 3 years of the project, we actually studied how children learn in a recreational environment. We studied how theme parks worked and why they were so successful. And we took a lot of those elements into the planning stages when we formed our curriculum and educational goals. And then the hardest part was to find a creative designer who could put it all together.
During the planning stages, ideas were brought to educators, parents, and students to see which ones would make the venture successful. In the end, over 200 interactive exhibits were installed into the operation's 85,000 square feet.
Well, my background is hospital administration, public health, and when we talk about the rising health care costs and such an important demand for primary care and so forth, we realized that the best way of solving the problem is through prevention. And we thought we had an opportunity here to actually bring the message to children, have them learn about the health choices that they're going to make, and hopefully make an impact on their lives.
With so much to do here, you can't help but find yourself taking part in the activities. Ed Belfour has nothing to worry about. JFK Healthworld has several themed areas, such as the Living Gadget and Safety Challenge, a 120-seat auditorium, a TV studio, several high-tech classrooms, and a library resource center.
Library is broken down into 6 themes, and it follows through with the exhibit floor. So if someone were in any one of the exhibits and they wanted to learn more about the topics that are covered in that area, they can come directly up here and find those materials. For example, if they're in Health Village and they want to find out more about what's happening in that exhibit area, they can come right up here to Health Village and find books and other materials on those topics. We also have videos and CD-ROMs that complement the 6 themes, and they go from preschool through adult. We have things like What is a Belly Button and Safety Monkey, all the way up to Adam the Virtual Man, and InfoTrack, which is a health reference sources where you can find literature searches on topics of your interest.
Healthworld has the backing of such organizations as the American Heart Association, the Boys and Girls Clubs of America, UNICEF, and the U.S. Secretary of Education. This is an ambitious project, and organizers hope that its impact in the health education field will be great.
Basically, what we're hoping for is that the children will feel taken ownership in the facility and realize that it was built for them and that they'll learn from it and hopefully make a difference in their lives.
For Jones Intercable, I'm Chip Egan. Back at Stevenson High School, Chip Egan along with Jerry Ming, and that happens to be one of the fathers of the players out here. Adam Butler was that gentleman that you saw just a second ago, and those other guys with the white hats are also fathers. The dads of the team, of the players with the Stevenson Patriot football hats. On the back, as you saw, the number, the name of the player. Pretty nice idea.
The good guys wear white hats tonight.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it. And certainly they have seen some pretty good football out of their sons tonight as they lead at 34-0 over the Stevenson Patriots. As cold and as crummy as the weather might be, there are smiles on the faces of the Stevenson faithful tonight, showing everybody, and to us for the first time, why this ball club is one of the top in the state. Matt Junia gets things going as he boots this one into Highland Park. And the Dolphins will come back out and start things up, first down at their own 20-yard line. Been a tough day for that gentleman, Maurice Gray, and his teammates tonight. Not able to muster up a whole lot of offense. Gray, 22 yards on 8 carries. Bobby Starks, the quarterback, has 3 for 4 yards. And Brandon Young carried the ball once for -5 yards. On the evening, Starks, 2 of 6, -4 yards, 2 interceptions.
Do you consider it a monumental victory, or at least an initial victory when they finally got into the positive yard category late in the second quarter?
Well, it's baby steps you got to take. I think the next step is getting past midfield. That has been forbidden territory to the Dolphins this evening. Here's Starks rolling out, looking to the outside, incomplete. Tried to get it over to his intended receiver on the play, which was Jay Kirsch.
Number 85, Matt Junia on the coverage again. I think Junia a little bit closer, had that throw been a little bit more on target. Junia had his sights set on snaring that himself. Something he had a little success on in the first half.
Yeah, well, the interceptions tonight have been up to Tariq Sadrindine. He's got 2 picks. Both have led to touchdowns. He has a 1-game total of 2, which is 1 behind Junia, who had 3 during the season.
And we still have a half to go.
That's right. Clancy also had 3, too. So there's plenty of time left for him to get another. And here comes Gray on the pitch to the left side. Strung out beautifully by the Patriots. And even though he slipped a couple of tackles, he got back to the 20, and now a late flag coming in.
Ouch. Number 77, Anthony Giannini, doing a good job. Now we're seeing a personal foul being called against the Patriots.
We've only had 3 penalties in the ball game, all of which have gone against the Patriots. 2 holdings, and now the personal foul. Beyond that, though, and a block point after, the Patriots have done absolutely nothing wrong tonight. I wonder what was said during halftime. I mean, you're up 34-0, you're on a roll.
Do you chastise them for the turnover with minute 10 to go in the first half?
Well, knowing Bill Mitz, chances are he didn't walk in and said, guys, it's all over. I think he walked in and said, hey, we still have another half. Don't let these guys come up and bite you from behind. 1st and 10 now. The ball moved up to the 35-yard line of Whitney Young. And they keep it on the ground once again. And Gray will not get anywhere. Maybe back to the line of scrimmage, and that's about it. Skibitsky's putting his nose in the ball carrier.
That whole linebacker crew was in on that. Skibitsky, Butler, left defensive end came in there and did his job.
Interesting, before the ball game, I'm reading over some of the stories in the papers about the ball game, and people were talking about how this can become the highest point total in playoff history and things like that. But talking about Coach Bill Mitz and what he might have said at halftime. Well, he had some pregame comments to the team, too. We're going to get to that in just a second on this play. 2nd and 10. Here's Gray out of the backfield. The penetration by the Patriots forces this play to be stopped in the backfield. It's going to be a loss of 2 on the play.
Number 87, Rashay Hill, came in there and almost, they left him open. They were going to try and trap him back, and he literally forced the play to go back up a little bit, and then everybody else just jumped in for the kill.
Brian Hansen also popping in there, but getting back to that story, sophomore coach Andy Pharisee was with Deerfield a couple of years back when they were knocked out in the first round by Tilden. Now, the Warriors were undefeated during that season. It was back in 1982. They came in, bumped from the playoffs in the first round. And you see Young moving all over the place now, finally getting set on 3rd down and 11. And starts rolling out to the outside, incomplete. Tried to get it to Sahundin, and that fell down to the ground, incomplete.
You know, outstanding pressure put on by number 87, Rashay Hill again. We talk about his size at 6'5", 240. That's a whale of a target to throw over or around. And as you said, that one just kind of fell to the turf harmlessly.
There you look at some of the fans. Again, you know, Mitz saying he didn't want his team to be lax about this ball game. And I mentioned that Andy Pharisee, the sophomore coach, who had been at Deerfield in 1982, they were undefeated, lost in the first round to Tilden. Pharisee came in to talk to these guys. As a punt is mishandled, then kicked, and hit one of the players for Young, and then is downed at the 41-yard line of Whitney Young. That ball came out and ended up hitting one of the linemen who was trying to get downfield, Noah Stein, And it came back and is now at the 41. But
the short snap there and a lot of pressure put on up the middle by the Patriots. They did deflect it just a little bit. Ended up being a net 7-yard punt.
I'm going to finish the story if
it
kills
let's go.
me. These guys are running too many plays. Well, according to Vince, he said that Piercy came in and gave the kids a story about what had happened. He didn't want to see any let-up in his ball club, not taking anything for granted. And here's Keller. The only thing he's taking up is yardage, and plenty of it. Down the sideline, touchdown. Basically walked right in, a 42-yard touchdown run, no flags. And I thought either he was going to get stopped or pushed out of bounds, but nobody came close to him. And it's 42 yards and a touchdown for Ryan Keller.
On there on your screen, you see number 77, Anthony Giannini, and number 71, Eric West, did an outstanding job. They got downfield, and they set up a wall for Keller that it was unstoppable. He had the sideline, and then it was just a foot race to the end zone. Now we sit here with 9 minutes to go in the third quarter, back at the 40-point mark, where if they had not miscued just prior to the half, we'd have been at this point a few minutes ago.
And Junia boots it through the uprights, and that makes the score 41-0. Stevenson on top.
And we're still on target. Keep in mind we talked about that 61-0 whitewashing East St. Louis did to Danville just a few years ago. 41-0. Wow. You know, you start to run out of adjectives to describe a team like this. They're big, they're strong, they're quick, they make smart plays, they play the ball on defense, they block well, downfield blocking. I mean, it's a fundamental film.
Talked about earlier yards allowed, and Stevenson had been shutting down Whitney Young virtually at will early. Well, the lowest amount of yards gained in a Class 6A Class 6A game was 31. Now Young has gotten beyond that
right now.
However, we have to see what the defense has in store, because they have been able to stop Young in the backfield several times, and Whitney Young has yet to go beyond the midfield stripe. As Junia gets his foot into yet another kick as this one goes into the end zone.
And you look at that kick by Junia, we've seen him put, I think, 3 or 4 consecutive ones into the end zone, and that one was in the air. What a leg he is displaying here. Destroying, yeah. He's destroying the other team by kicking the ball.
That's what Stevenson's doing. That's right, 31 yards, Naperville Central versus Notre Dame of Niles back on November 11th of 1981. Notre Dame had 31 yards rushing, no yards passing.
That was before Lou Holtz, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, wrong Notre Dame.
I think that was during the Faust era.
Wrong Notre Dame.
So 1st and 10 at the 20. And they keep it on the ground and get out to the 25-yard line. Brand new ball carrier touching the ball for the first time as a rusher. Sahuddin picking up 5 on the play. Now bringing up a 2nd down and 5 now. Whitney Young, as I had mentioned, comes into the ball game, or came into the ball game, I should say, 6-3 on the season. Winners of the Chicago Public League North Division. But again, having lost to Bogan 36-8 in the final game of the season. Bogan ending the year at 4-5. Non-playoff team doing a number on the Dolphins. And here's Starks, has the first down, carries a couple of tacklers across the 35 to the 37-yard line.
Good read by Starks. He saw that everyone had gone deep with the pass coverage, and he had some good protection inside. He just tucked it in and went for the first down.
And they're going to look at some of the Patriots on the sideline. Keller being amongst that group. Keller hanging out with some of the linemen. Quarterbacks want to be linemen at times, don't they? But I'll tell you what, considering the guys he's got out in front.
He's talking nice to his guys.
I'd walk down a dark alley with those guys, I'll tell you. They are some big, big people. 1st and 10 now at the 37. Starks back to throw. Lofts it to the outside. Knocked to the ground, incomplete. Clancy got a hand in front on it as he stepped out in front of Sardundine and knocked it down. And I'm sure Tariq's going to have a couple of words for him saying, you know, I had my eyes on that ball. My hands were up. I was in prime position. And you got to knock it down.
And that would have been his third.
That's right.
The hat trick.
Second down and 10 now. Cleanest jersey out there for Whitney Young is the wide receiver. The passes that have been thrown tonight have gone to the backs. They've taken a look at the tight end, but the wide receiver hasn't gotten his hands on it. But Gray has. And he squirts his way out to the 41-yard line, so a pickup of 4. Skibitsky once again over on the tackle, showing why he was an all-conference player. Jeff Skibitsky in on a number of those tackles tonight.
You look at Skibitsky, 6 foot, 184. Really a good size for a linebacker. Obviously, if he's going to pursue his career at the next level, he's going to have to put some more weight on. But you don't want your linebackers to be these 5'8", 5'9" guys because they won't be able to see over the defensive lineman. You want some height with them. So that means you can't play linebacker.
I can't play linebacker. That'd have been a good running back, though. Stocky.
Short.
Hey, I like Stocky. Starks coming out of the gates, slipping all over, avoids a couple tackles, avoids a sack, and actually picked up 2 yards before he was wrapped up on the play.
Credit Starks with really going out and making something out of nothing. He was just about annihilated in back before he finally fell forward there. Number 73, Justin Ward, finished him off, but after he gained a few.
Tony Giannini also getting in on that. And you know, these guys have to love the position they're in right now. Up 41-0, pin the ears back. Just go wild. 4th down, the Dolphins having to punt it away now. And Janelle lets this one go. And it's going to be downed at the 14-yard line.
This will be the first time that we will see the Patriots start. And I don't even want to call it bad field position for them, but certainly their worst field position to start a drive tonight.
And the Patriots come back out onto the field. Starting unit offensively back out there. 5:45 left to go here in the third quarter of play. And on the ground, Shea Newcomb just keeps the legs moving, pushing the pile backwards, and he stopped at the 22-yard line.
Stopped. You know, he was finally wrestled down, and that's still only after an 8-yard gain. And you look at the stats for him, Newcomb was averaging 9 yards a carry, 13 TDs coming into this, and that's why.
2nd down and 2 now. Ed Keller looking to throw. Avoids a couple of tacklers and then slips and falls, but may have enough for the first down depending on the spot.
When things are going your way, they're going your way. Keller did not know that he had pursuit coming from the backside, but he got some good second and third effort blocks by his offensive line, and then he kind of slipped and slid his way through to come up just short of the first down.
Jerry, I'm glad you brought up the running backs a few seconds ago because, as we said, Newcomb, the team's leading ball carrier with 754 yards and 13 TDs. Clancy 1 yard behind him, but with 2 more touchdowns. And as they come to the right side, Kyle Brandt almost broke it. And, you know, he was frustrated about it. Stopped at the 29-yard line, so a pickup of 6 got the first down, but he's a little disappointed he didn't get more.
And you saw the way Brandt came out of there, still upright, and his knees pumping as he did the spin. You got to think that he was probably half a stride from breaking away from that, and then it would have been a foot race down the sideline.
Stevenson not very slow in getting into the huddle and back out in the line of scrimmage. This is an aggressive ball club. Now Clancy to the left side. A flag goes flying. And Clancy is finally wrapped up and taken down at the 41-yard line. Well, we look, Brandt, though, 544 yards, 11 touchdowns. I mentioned Newcomb and Clancy. You've got 3 guys in the backfield that obviously together have close to 2,000 yards rushing. And as a total of your touchdowns, They've got 39 between the three of them. Not bad. I mean, when you've got three guys of that caliber, some people may say, well, who's going to carry the ball most of the time? That's even distribution, and they produce.
And when we look at the scoring in the area, those three players are probably in about the top 10 or 11 here. As you said, it takes away from the element of being a one-man team, of being a one-man show. And we see the Patriots go back here with the first adversity that they're going to have on this drive with the holding penalty. It's going to bring up first and about 20, 21 yards, right in that range. But you got to believe that they'll overcome it.
Yeah, penalty moving it back now makes it 1st and 20 at their own 19, but I would think that this is more of a challenge than anything else for them right now.
A little bump in the road.
And Keller pitches it out, bounces off the hands of Brandt, but he's able to retrieve it, and then he's thrown to the ground at the 23-yard line by the Dolphin defense. Over there to grab hold of him was Craig Valadez.
Brandt coming up with the ball, and it just about got away. Credit intense concentration instead of taking his eye off it and, just kind of doing it by feel. He really kept his eye on the ball, was able to finally snare it in, and still made a 4-yard gain out of what could have been disaster.
Well, the Patriots have turned the ball once over this evening. Or over once, if you want to correct my grammar. Keller to the outside, turns it back up. Keeps going, has enough for the first down, and is stopped at the 41-yard line.
Once again, Keller really getting some outstanding downfield blocks there. They just kept with it. Number 34, William Riley, just took the defensive man, was very careful not to get called for clipping, and just literally rode him out of bounds, gave Keller that extra 3 or 4 yards that he needed for the first.
Brian Keller now with 62 yards on 3 carries. And to the left side they go. Kyle Brandt gets out to about the 47-yard line, so a pickup of 6 for him. And with that 6 yards now, Brandt has 79 on 11 carries and is the team's leading ball carrier. But Steve Clancy not far behind with 72 yards on just 5 carries.
When you talk about even distribution, there it is. There is no one guy with 100 yards yet, but they've got 3 or 4 guys hanging in that mid-70, 60 range.
Here comes Brandt. First down, then some. The ball pops free, however. And let's see who's got it. The conditions are perfect for this type of thing to happen, but the Patriots recover this one. Falling on top of it was Eric West, who hustled down from this tackle position to dive on top of the football.
Well, you talk about lady luck. Go back a few plays there when Brandt almost lost the handle on the ball. Here it bounces back for him like that. Then ends up being a 19-yard gain.
Here they come to the outside now. Steve Clancy cuts back in and is taken down by his feet at the 20-yard line, and they were just holding on for dear life. Derek Cameron did it, and Steve Clancy is down, hurt on the play.
I think he took the helmet right in the front arm. You see him holding his left arm there. To go back to what led up to that play, number 76, Chris Bloom, 6'5", 285, went out there and just steamrolled the defensive back who never had a prayer. If the other guy isn't hanging on to Clancy, and the impact there, as we said, took the helmet right in the arm, Clancy's going to go for the 6.
Well, he is down and injured with 1:18 left, and this brings up a situation that we had not mentioned earlier. With the score 41-0, your starting unit's still out on the field. Now you've run the risk of one of your starters, one of your key players getting injured now. And I don't think this is hindsight because we're seeing a player down. We had thought about it, and we didn't vocalize it, really didn't want to get into it. But in a situation like this, I think this is where some people can say, hey, what are you trying to do? Your starters are still out there with 41-0. Stay playoff-wise, though, the competition is going to get much tougher. And I think in an effort to keep his guys sharp, Bill Mitz is keeping those guys out on the field. I don't think he wants them to get too cold too early because it's going to be another week before you play again. So I think in an effort to keep these guys sharp, he's keeping them out there. Now, Steve Clancy is up under his own power and coming off, but he is holding that left arm.
Just got to hold your breath that it's nothing more than just a bruise right now, just from the impact. No broken bones, no permanent injury.
Alan Smith replaces him in the lineup and steps into the backfield. And he gets the call to the left side. And he hits the turf on a nice defensive play over there by Craig Valadez. And Valadez's jersey is dirty because he's been in on a lot of them tonight.
Alan Smith comes in, and as you said, first play from scrimmage, he gets the call. If he somehow manages to get outside Valadez, he literally had plenty of turf to run at, but defensive end did his job. He contained.
So a second down now, loss of about a half a yard on the play, so we'll call it 11. With half a minute left to go, they keep it on the ground and pick a large chunk of that back up once again. Shea Newcomb, the ball carrier. Got about a 7-yard gain on the play.
Brings up third and about a long 4.
And they try to get this play off before the end of the quarter. They do. Newcomb again carries the ball as he's wrapped up at the 7-yard line. So a pickup of 6, that'll have a first down. And that'll do it for 3/4 of play here at Stevenson High School. It's been all Patriots tonight. They lead it 41-0.
They say pot is cool. They say it's a great high. They say everybody does it. They say they're your friends. They're pulling your strings.
There you get a look at Steve Clancy now over on the sidelines. His left arm around the elbow, all bandaged and iced up. He took a shot there earlier towards the tail end of the third quarter, as you saw, and came out of the ball game. Seems to be all right, and I think he'll be ready to go come next week, as will those people. Their team's ahead 41-0. As if they're not ready to go now. They'll certainly be ready to go again next week.
Got to believe that they felt frustrated last year when they felt they had a really good, strong, solid team. Many of these same players that are on the field right now were carrying the banner for them, only to go down in the early rounds of the playoffs. And they really felt like they needed to come back and assert themselves, which they've been doing all year.
You know, they lost to Downers Grove South, but avenged that loss early this year. To the right side. Couple of yards, and that's about it. Down to the 5. Shea Newcomb picked up 2 on the play, and that was it. As I mentioned, they knocked off Downers Grove South, but the Patriots were younger last year. A lot of juniors on that ball club that won the North Suburban Conference title. Again, it was the first ever outright title for the Patriots. They had shared it before, but last year marked their first ever all alone. Here they come to the left side, but then cutting back in was Alan Smith, and he got stopped shy of the goal line. They'll mark it at the 3.
Good solid form tackle is the only thing that kept Smith from going forward. He was met head on. The guy not only locked his arms, but he also had the momentum to drive him back and down.
It'll be 3rd down and goal now, officially at the 2. As you get a good look at the ball, the goal line, and the trench. And they go left side with Shea Newcomb. And did he get in?
Everybody's in the end zone. I don't know how they can say that he didn't make it.
It looked to me like he was in there. Now they're starting to impile. Still no. It's going to be 4th down. Right on the goal line. Doesn't get much closer than that, I'll tell you. Although I thought he was pretty much in the end zone. And when your officials are straddling the line, I would think that your tendency maybe to look a little forward.
Brings up 4th and goal literally from the inches line.
4th and about the lace of a football, even shorter than that. Keller keeper? No. Hands off right side, and walking into the end zone is Kyle Brandt with a hole that you and I could go through, Jerry.
I tell you, you know, we talk about these backs and the triplicate of talent that they have back there. But you alluded to earlier about their offensive line. You know, they found tons of daylight behind the blocking. You know, Chris Bloom, Eric West, Tony Giannani, Nicholas Hull, Eric Swan. You know, it's just right in the trench there is where these Patriots are really solid. We know they've got good quarterbacking. We know they've got outstanding running. They've got good kicking, but they are really solid in the trench.
And the point after is good. And with 9:59 left to go in the ball game, Stevenson is comfortably ahead, 48-0. And for Kyle Brandt, that is his second touchdown of the evening, which puts him one behind the leader, Steve Clancy, who hit the trifecta back in the second quarter. Can recap it real quick. Clancy scored on the second play of the game on a 37-yard touchdown run with 11:24 left to make it 7-0 Stevenson. With 2:52 left to go, he scored again on a 3-yard, 6-play drive, 14-0. And then Keller hooked up with Riley on a 39-yard touchdown play, 21-0 after 1 quarter of play. Into the second, Brandt scored on a 1-yard run. It was 28-0. Then Clancy got his third on a 3-yard run, 34-0. Then we stepped into the third where Keller scored on a 42-yard keeper. Went the left side and the distance. The point after was no good. It was 41-0. Check that. The point after was good. The point after wasn't good before. And then Brandt capping it off now at 48 with his 1-yard run. And the Dolphins breaking free. This is going to be their best field position of the night. Gray takes it back out to the 49-yard line and a penalty marker down.
I think we're going to have a face mask penalty in the tackle there. There are a lot of people grabbing for everything, and I think the face mask, the signaling holding penalty, but I don't think defensively.
He's holding the face mask is what he was doing.
That's about the only thing you can, but this marks the first time they have crossed the mid-stripe.
And there they changed it to face mask now. The official making the indication it was the face mask. So the ball now sits at the 36-yard line of Stevenson. And again, this is the furthest penetration by the Dolphins into Stevenson territory all game. The first time they've crossed midfield.
And keep in mind, the yardage gain on that return does not charge against them defensively.
And here's a pitch to the outside. Gray has it. And he's met at the 33-yard line before he's taken down. Making the initial stop was number 61, Richard Cohen.
Okay, and then from the cornerback, number 37, Jeff Hamlin, did his job, fought off the block and came in to help finish him off.
And you give him credit for a 4-yard pickup on that one. Gray with 30 yards unofficially tonight on 11 carries. And
interesting offensive play by the Dolphins there. They had everyone going left. They turned around and did a reverse pitch to the right.
Second down and 6 now. And here comes Mr. Gray again on the pitch. Goes left side. Cuts back in, is held up, and then stopped. Maybe a yard on the play, and that's about it.
Good job by his offensive lead man doing a kick-out block. The defensive end came in, had the play, but there again, that may be attributed to the kind of slippery footing out there. He was in position, but his momentum took him literally right out of the play, and the blocker just rode him out.
Well, we've got this chance, too. Let's talk about some of the other teams we've got in the playoffs. Libertyville at 6-3, taking on Palatine on Saturday. Palatine 8-1. That game at Palatine. Waukegan and New Trier renew a Central Suburban South battle. However, they take it into the postseason. Third down and 5. Starks fakes the pitch to the outside, rolls out, throws across his body, incomplete, and a late flag coming down on the play. Pass defended out there for Stevenson. by William Riley, and I think he's the guy that's going to get whistled for the interference.
I think we're going to see that interference call because they felt the contact. He was over his back a little bit before the ball got there.
And there you see the indication. Mentioned that Waukegan-New Trier game. New Trier winning the battle during the regular season 16-14. John Neff, the head coach of the Bulldogs, saying it was perhaps the worst officiated game he's seen in 34 years of coaching. So there's a little bit of billboard material there. That game also taking place on Saturday in Winnetka. Lake Forest, the Scouts making the playoffs at 6-3, taking on Chicago Vocational, CVS. Dick Butkus' old school. They have to travel into the city. CVS 9-0 on the year. We've also got Lake Zurich and Carmel in the playoffs. We'll tell you who they've got coming up. 1st and 10 at the 17-yard line now for the Dolphins. They are knocking on the door. A flag goes flying, and we're going to have some motion. I believe the left tackle for the Dolphins jumped out of position first, and this is going to come back. Oh, we got the Carmel Corsairs, though, speaking of renewed rivalries, having to travel down to Joliet to take on the Joliet Catholic Hilltoppers.
Remember a rematch of that one, wasn't it about 3 weeks ago they met, where the Corsairs could not put it in at the end of the game, and
right.
They came away frustrated and on the short end of a loss.
Waning seconds of the ball game, had the ball at the 2-yard line of Joliet Catholic, couldn't punch it across, which would have given them the win. That's still fresh in their minds, and they'd like to avenge that one, and what better way than to knock the Hilltoppers out of the playoffs. On 1st and 15 now. On the ground, up the middle. Picking up some rushing yards was Ismail Sahundin. Jeff Hamlin making the stop. And the Lake Zurich Bears, a surprise, I think, to us. At 6-3, getting into the playoff picture. They play Marshall. The Commandos. Better known for their basketball than their football. So an interesting matchup there.
Well, we've got the opportunity, maybe a chance to give kudos to the ESCC Player of the Year, Ruben Rivera. We were lucky enough to see an outstanding performance by him a couple of weeks ago in our game that unfortunately did not end so good for all the athletes, but still just a tremendous performance by an outstanding athlete.
Starks back to throw under some pressure, has some room to run. He'll tuck it away. Just lowers the head and lowers the boom on one of the defensive backs for Stevenson. As he stopped at the 7-yard line, William Riley decided to step in and try to stop Starks, and he did. That's sacrificing the body.
A little bit of an offensive drive. Every play we see them make, the Dolphins make their furthest penetration into Patriot territory. And it's almost like we've seen the intensity defensively maybe lessen up a little bit on the part of the Patriots. Before, they were shutting down everything before it could even get going. Now they're shutting it down, but after it's gained 5, 6, 7 yards.
6:05 left to go here in the fourth quarter. The game is pretty much decided at 48-0 Stevenson, but they would like to pitch the shutout if they could. The Dolphins at the 7-yard line. Here's Gray. Cuts it back in. Stop short of the goal line at the 2-yard line.
Gain of 5 is going to bring up 2nd and goal from the 1, really about the 1.5. Somewhere in there they're going to place it.
Jarosik making the stop. But this eventual score here by the Dolphins would stop the 3-game shutout streak for the Patriots. 5.5 left to go in the ball game now. 1st and goal at the 2-yard line. 3-man backfield behind Starks. He rolls out to the left, floats it into the end zone. Touchdown, Dolphins. Wide open, coming out into the flat as he rolled out to the left side was Milt Luter.
Uncle Milt just got out into the short flat there and starts doing a good job of rolling away from the pressure, and he just found him and just dropped a nice pass, and he went down to his knees, caught it, and it breaks the goose egg for the part of Whitney Young Dolphins.
So Starks to Luter for 3 yards. And they're going to go for 2 here. And here's Starks rolling to the right side, under some pressure, comes back, tucks it away, gets a block, and goes in for the two-point conversion. That's a heady play by Bobby Starks right there, not giving up. Slips away from a potential tackler, but we've got a flag down at the 2-yard line, and this may come back. And it's a holding penalty against the Dolphins, so you can take that 2 right off the board.
But you know, Starks, and here again, credit this one to the field, because Starks was under some good defensive pressure. I believe it was number 77 coming in there, Anthony Giannini, and he would have annihilated Starks, but his feet, you know, couldn't get the traction. He just slid a little bit, and Starks gave him a little head fake. I got to believe on a dry field in a rematch, Giannini is going to win that. But it doesn't matter.
No, they're going to try it again now from 10 yards further back, however. Ball at the 13-yard line. You see some of the fans doing whatever they can to keep warm tonight. But they've had enough exercise cheering all the touchdowns that the Patriots have put up. Here on the reverse, they're coming back to the left side, but they're not going to get it. Well strung out by the defense as they stop the ball carrier on the play. And it makes the score 48-6. Stevenson with the lead.
You got to believe when you're sitting that far back and you have on the 13-yard line, you got to make something happen. It's time to trying to go to the bag of tricks and see what's in there.
Well, there was a lot of talk again. As see fans here on hand at the ball game tonight. A lot of talk about possibly the Patriots putting up 80 points, and considering what Antioch did to Whitney Young earlier this year, and then what Stevenson did to Antioch, that you had to figure some records may fall in tonight's matchup, but they haven't.
Well, credit
Stevenson's
Whitney,
played steady, though. I
sure.
mean, they can't fault him for that, but they've made their touchdowns. They scored quickly before. They've mounted some drives, and Whitney Young, to their credit, has kind of taken some time off the clock a little bit.
And the Dolphins, yeah, you talk about time. The Dolphins just consumed almost 5 minutes on that last drive. And go back to the Patriots. Remember, they've taken 2 scoring opportunities away from themselves already.
That's very true. In fact, 14 points would have put them at 62, which would have given them, had they been able to shut them out, would have given them the record, as you mentioned before. 61 was the record, 61-0. And we keep bringing it up because, again, there was talk of 80 points being put up tonight and huge margins of victory, but they've got a huge margin of victory. 42 is not too shabby, but as kickoff is taken at the 17-yard line and brought back out to the 32.
Only the second time that we've seen the Patriots in a receiving mode tonight. Remember, they took the opening kickoff, and now this one after the Dolphin touchdown becomes time number 2.
Brad Manowith returning the kickoff as the ball sits at the 32-yard line, and the Patriots come out. Kurt Zervik, the new quarterback for Stevenson, and they go to the right side. J. Patrick Luby, the ball carrier, so a lot of fresh faces getting some action tonight.
Keeping in mind that you want to protect your starters now. We talked about that a little while ago, but with 4-something to go in the game, you've got by this far. Count your lucky stars and just take it home.
Phil Hakkinen checked into the ball game at the last moment. Give you some of the other guys in the lineup right now. As they keep it on the ground and picking up some nice yardage was Joe Marth, straight up the gut. Also in the backfield, Steve Kim.
You talked earlier about the amount of depth on this Patriot squad. I mean, they dress just a huge number of players on the side, but when you're winning games by as lopsided a score as they've been able to, I got to believe these people have seen action.
And a lot of people spilling forward on that one.
Everyone except the center knew the count there.
Pete Tanarwa in at one of the ends over on the left side. There he is, number 18. Josh Leaf in there. Sean Coughlin. Trying to pick these guys up as we go along. Give them a little TV time.
Got to believe when they go back into the huddle there, everybody's going to say, didn't you know what the snap count was? And he goes, I knew what it was, but you guys didn't.
And now they come back out. Coughlin at center. In a three-man backfield behind Zervik. And they try to go straight up the middle, and very short gain on the play, if any. Marth, the ball carrier, stopped at the line of scrimmage. Jody Davis also on the field. Not the guy who was a member of the 1984 Cubs, but somebody with a little more talent. I never thought Jody Davis was that good of a,
you know, the TV show.
Oh. And they try the left side. This doesn't go anywhere. As the Dolphins string that play out and stop the running back on the play, who was Steve Kim.
Got to believe we're going to see Mr. Hull come in and punt for his first time for the game. Keep in mind that's only his 5th time for the year. How do you send a highlight?
It's first down. They tried to go for it on.
That was on 4th, excuse me.
Yeah, I was thinking back to it. We're looking down the names, trying to get everybody. They were entitled every now and again.
Hey.
But hey, it keeps Hull's percentage down. I still can't believe that. He's punted only 4 times coming into this, which is now the 10th ball game of the season.
And how do you send a highlight film if you're out trying to, sell yourself to a college recruiter? Well, here's one of my punts, here's another, and here's the other.
You've seen my 95 season. There, you get a look at some of the fans on the field, in the stands. On the field. They want to be on the field in late November. They want to be down on the field at Hancock Stadium. If their team has a shot to get down there and win it, they're going to be there. So that guy. And I'm sure he's pretty warm. He's well insulated. But I'll tell you, this is a lot of people are talking about how great it would be to see Naperville Central and Stevenson hook up the number 1 and 2 teams in the state and go at it for a state title.
I'll go back a few weeks ago. I think it was about the 3rd or 4th week in the season. Naperville Central played Naperville North. They were ranked number 1 and like number 4 or 5 in the state. And the paper told us, whoa, we got a ball recovered by the Patriots. Turnover time.
Falling on top of it, Seth Cope. And the sophomore able to come up with a fumble recovery. A lot of pressure on Starks. Somebody got a hand on the football, and Cope right there to fall on top of it.
Back to that Naperville game that I was talking about, the newspaper afterwards told of there being in excess of 10,000 people for a local high school game.
That's not bad. That's not bad at all. That's the type of crowd and atmosphere you'd like to see at every high school game if you could. On the ground, the Patriots pick up about 6 on the play. Carrying the football was Yuya Oda. Oda, 5'6", 156-pound junior. And now Eric Sundquist comes into the ball game. He replaced Tarnawa.
Clock you see in the lower left-hand corner of your screen is time remaining in the game.
And Oda checks into the ball game and gets a carry and picked up a couple. You got to figure those are the guys you key on when they step into the ball game like this. Chances are they bring in the play, they're going to get the ball.
He goes into the huddle, coach calls some other play from the sideline. The kid runs in and coach says, give it to me, like they're going to know anything different on the field.
Coach said, I'm going to the left side, give it to me. So 3rd down and 3 with a minute left. And the Stevenson Patriots will march on to the 2nd round of the playoffs. And Joe Marth, who just checked into the ball game, got the carry and the first down. And now into the ball game, Philip McKay, number 1.
At 5'9", 142 pounds.
Listed as a quarterback. So let's see. Number 1 in the backfield. Let's see if he gets the ball. And wrapped up. Actually, I believe that was Luby that carried the football.
Number 7, Luby.
Yeah, Luby carried the football.
Now think about the frequency, and we talked about a little bit earlier in the game, the frequency of plays that the Patriots, man, they're in and out of that huddle just bingo. Notice, too, that they only line up they huddle about 5 yards back.
Yeah, these guys don't waste any time as time is winding down on us. They keep it on the ground, pick up a good chunk of yards. Steve Kim, the ball carrier, and that's going to do it. The Stevenson Patriots taking care of business here in the first round of the Class 6A playoffs. They knock off Whitney Young by a final of 48-6, and now await the winner of the York-Elgin-Larkin game, which was also being played this evening. Stevenson should host that ball game, I believe. York is hosting against Larkin, and according to the rules, who is between the two teams, between the winners, whoever has hosted the fewest amount of games would take the next one. Unless the two hosting teams win, then you go to the bottom part of the bracket, which has Stevenson in it. That being the case, they would host next week.
And if all that goes by the wayside, you go, who's got the nicest press box and stands?
Who's going to feed us after the game? Well, it's 48-6 here. The Stevenson Patriots with the victory. They pick up their 10th win of the season, while Whitney Young finishes out at 6-4. There you see the score, and we'd like to remind you that tonight's game has been brought to you by Pepsi Cola and your local Pepsi Cola bottlers of Lake County. When we come back after this message by Pepsi, we will have our player of the game. And who let that new cheer fan in? Get him out of here.
Sir Dig, if I may call you such, sir. Dig, sir. I'm here to ask for your daughter Julie's hand in marriage. Yeah, man. We want to surf. Or maybe start a band. Check it out. My pop loves to party. And my mom, she's a big old earth muffin, yeah? So as far as cash flow goes, man, we don't have any. So I figure, move in here and glom off of you for a while, man. What do you say, sir? Cool. Is that, like, priceless, dude?
You are the thumbs and the eyes. You are the energy and the shine.